Hi learners! Welcome back to Circle of Thoughts, where you can learn anything under the sun. This video is the fourth part of the series video discussion about conditionals. As we all know, our main topic goal is to know how we can use conditionals in expressing arguments. Within this video, we will talk about essays where we can use conditionals in expressing arguments. Are you ready? Let's start. Among the different kinds of essays, there are two which the use of conditionals in expressing arguments can be maximized. These are persuasive essay and argumentative essay. Most of the time, persuasive and argumentative essays are treated the same way, but there are several differences between these two that a writer must consider. According to www.readwritethink.org of the International Reading Association, a persuasive essay aims to get the reader to agree with the writer's opinion. On the other hand, an argumentative essay is written to get the reader to recognize that the writer's side of an argument is valid. Also, writing a persuasive essay, the tone should be emotionally charged and more aggressive to persuade the readers, while argumentative essay is comparatively of calmer tone, trying to make the reader acknowledge that the propositions of the writer is worthy to be considered. Let us look at how these essays are written by checking on some of the techniques applied to each, starting with the persuasive essay. While a persuasive essay presents fact, it also combines emotions in its presentation to let the reader think that what the writer is saying is right. It is emotion-based. As much as balance in writing should be observed, most of the time, persuasive essays do not consider presenting counterclaims to give focus to the position of the writer. It presents only ideas that help establish a position. Although persuasive essay is factual, this kind of essay makes claims without enough evidence to back it up. Argumentative essays, on the other hand, offer facts, reasons, and evidence to show that the writer has valid points and the arguments are considerable. It is logical compared to persuasive essay because the reasons and evidence back each other. It acknowledges opposing claims. Counterclaims are important in argumentative essay to provide balance in writing. This means that it is not only the side of the writer that is presented in the essay, also an argument that opposes these claims. It may compare ideas to establish a position by presenting multiple sides, but it is clear which is the author's side. It always provides evidence with claims. Now that we know the differences between these two essays, let's talk about what are the things that make them similar. According to www.scribendi.com, in writing these essays, a writer should, first, take a stance or position. Stance or position is the point or idea that the essay will discuss. Number 2, know your audience. The approach in writing any kind of material requires the consideration of audience or simply the reader. Will it interest them? Will it affect them? Is it relatable? Will they gain knowledge from it? And so on. Thoroughly research your topic. Both essays require you to present facts. Thus, researching about your topic is a must. Fourth, think about the structure of your essay. How will you write your essay? Which side will you defend or present? And how will your ideas flow cohesively? And last, support your argument. Readers will be convinced on the ideas you are presenting if they can read explanations or supports to the arguments you presented. There are 3 important parts that compose a persuasive essay or an argumentative essay: the introduction, body, and conclusion. What should be included in each of these parts? For the introduction part, the writer must make sure that it will hook the readers. It will grab their attention and motivate them to read the whole composition. How? By providing background information about your subject, or by simply telling what the situation is all about. The introduction part must end with a clear statement of your thesis, which contains your position or your primary concern and the side to defend in your essay. The body of the essay contains all your arguments that support your thesis, and this is where you're going to use your conditional statements. This is the part where most of your discussions will be done. You will explain these arguments on why you said these ideas. Each paragraph should focus on one particular point. Take note, the structure of your essay depends on how you will deliver your ideas and how will you present each clearly. You may include 1 or 2 paragraphs to refute or rebut your main argument using the most compelling opposing argument based on your research and judgment. Again, this part of your essay is composed of arguments and evidences, and your arguments can be presented using conditional statements. For the conclusion part, you should restate the main argument by encapsulating all discussions you made from your introduction down to your body paragraphs and by presenting your final supporting details to leave your readers with clear grasp of your position. It is just summarizing what you have discussed from the introduction down to the bodies, including all the arguments and all the evidences that you have gathered. Now that you already have the idea how to write your essay, let us now proceed to how you will use your conditional statements in expressing your arguments, which will compose your body. Arguments or argument is defined in Merriam-Webster dictionary as a reason or set of reasons given with the aim of persuading others that an action or idea is right or wrong. This gives us the point of discussion where you will use your conditional statements. You can present your arguments in the form of conditional statements specifying the condition of a certain situation and its corresponding results. For example, you are writing about COVID-19, and your argument based on your research is that COVID-19 is transferable by droplets in the air. You can present this idea in a conditional statement form like, if a person with COVID-19 virus sneezes without covering his or her mouth, it will cause others to catch the virus too. As you can see, it is a conditional statement. The first part is our if clause or our condition, and the last part or the latter part is our result. Now you see how you can present your arguments based on your research into a conditional statement. Remember, in presenting an argument in the conditional statement format, a writer must make sure that, like a regular argument, it may express inferences. By definition, an inference is a conclusion reached on the basis of reasoning and evidence. Again, it is a conclusion. For example, Sherry's baby is in the bed sleeping. Suddenly, she hears a loud sound followed by crying. Sherry can infer that the baby fell from the bed, hurt and scared. Based on the evidences, like the baby is in the bed sleeping, Sherry heard a loud sound, and Sherry heard a crying after that loud sound. She concluded that her baby fell from the bed. And of course, because the baby fell from the bed, the baby is hurt and the baby is scared. That's why the baby is crying. By analyzing the situation, we can say that the inference or the conclusion of Sherry about her baby is true. And that is what we mean by inference. That is what we mean by basing our conclusion from reasons and evidences. Now going back to conditionals, if a conditional does not provide an inference or it doesn't give you a conclusion, then this conditional statement is not an argument at all. We cannot consider a conditional statement that cannot provide a conclusion as an argument that you can include in your essay. Generally speaking, an argument will only be considered valid if and only if its corresponding conditional statement is necessarily true, which means an argument can only be accepted as a good argument as part of our essay if the conditional statement format of that particular argument yields necessarily true, or meaning the conclusion is correct or is true. Meaning, if you can express the argument to conditional statement form and it yields that this conditional statement is true, then your argument is valid and worthy to be discussed and presented into your essay or any composition. A simple tip, just make sure that your conditional statement will provide sufficient condition in the antecedent for the result in the consequent to be true and valid and vice versa. This will ensure that the conditional statement will provide inference. Again, you have to provide sufficient condition or enough conditions for your result to be valid and to be true. And of course, the same way goes for your condition. Your result must be sufficient for your condition. For example, if someone is going to give birth, then they're pregnant. If we're going to change the format into format B, someone is pregnant if they are going to give birth. Examining this example, we can say that the condition is sufficient for the result and the result is sufficient for the condition. How? Because no one can give birth if they are not pregnant at all. Under normal circumstances, it is expected for a pregnant to give birth. Therefore, the condition is enough or is good for the result to happen, and the result will happen because the condition is sufficient. And that's what we're going to consider whenever we're going to use conditional statements in expressing your arguments. I hope you have taken good points from this discussion that you can use to easily construct or express arguments using conditional statements in your essays and other compositions. Until next lesson, goodbye!